a really big show tonight. It's a really, really, really big show tonight.
This is Music Relish Podcast.
Welcome to episode 22 of Music Relish Podcast. Tonight, we'll be discussing bootlegs, Fender guitars, alternative rock, one-hit wonders as always, and we'll be reviewing an album by Minus Five. I'm Mark. I'm here with Perry and Lou, looking from the left to right of my screen. How's it going, guys?
Good evening.
All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Doing great. Winter is here.
Mark, you want to...
It's a really big show.
Really? Well, it's still fall, technically, isn't it? When's the first day of winter?
Freeze my ass off today, yeah.
Yeah.
50 here.
How about bootleg records, Mark? You and I were on the phone the other day talking about bootleg records a little bit, right?
Yeah. That's a staple of the 70s and the 80s. I bought many bootlegs in my time. So
well, you showed one last week.
Yep. And here's a classic example.
Bootleg?
I'm showing a Led Zeppelin bootleg. This is stuff you would pay a lot of money for. Most of the time, too much money. This bootleg happens to be 75 British tour Led Zeppelin, live in London. I collected them like crazy. I spent all my money on them. Some were shitty sounding and some were great sounding. I have some really bad sounding bootlegs.
You're an audiophile, aren't you?
When I like a band, I can't stop. I just get everything they have. That's my problem. It's a sickness.
What does it say in the back of the sleeves? Is there any information on slightly where, when, how, or?
It depends. It depends where a lot of these records were made in record vinyl pressers and they were done like on the night shift. You know, you're not supposed to make bootleg. So there's a record press in Stamford, Connecticut. You might get someone you know say, at night, can you run these albums for me? A lot of them are very cheaply done. Like this just has a flip sheet with the track listing.
Most of them were
standard white. Yeah. And they came from all different sources. You know, they came from radio shows. They came from
soundboards. Yeah.
And some
of the Zeppelin one. What was the Zeppelin one? Is that a studio bootleg?
The one I showed last week was actually, it was their rehearsals for all the songs on Physical Graffiti. So that was another kind of bootleg where someone got a hold of some tapes from the band, which, there was a lot of Beatles stuff floating around for years like that. Then these are live. So this is like you
just mentioned the band. I mean, this is where like the original bootleg thing came from, right? With Bob Dylan recording at in the basement of Big Pink.
Yeah.
And
they bootleg themselves.
How did that come to be? Like they decided to release them themselves to counter this bootlegging thing, didn't they?
No, I'm not sure about that. But they were just rehearsal tapes on reel to reel. I don't know if it was half inch or whatever. And they were just doing it just to record.
It was a regular reel to reel, like a.
Yeah. I don't think it was like a studio.
No, it wasn't
multi-track.
No.
No, I think Garth was running the wheel.
Garth was the guy. Yep.
Yeah. And, the quality is not great. I'm sure they've been redone. They reworked the tapes, but there was kind of bootleg in a sense where it came out after the fact too.
I think I read somewhere, and maybe you can verify it, that Robbie was so annoyed with the poor quality that they decided to release the basement tapes or something. Like get them sounding a little bit, nicer than.
I see. Instead of just hanging on to the bootlegs as crappy as they sounded without
right
additional treatment.
Let's release the basement tapes, which they did, right? Eventually, I think a couple of years later.
Yeah, that's always a deal too, because Dylan was on. Dylan was on Columbia, and they were on Capitol. I think Dylan was on Columbia at that time, of course.
Yeah,
but I think he was on Columbia
you have to work
out,
to work out those details.
Yeah, really. Yep.
Mark, how many shows have you bootlegged yourself, wired up like?
I never had the courage to
Robot
do that.
Man or something.
I never had the courage. First of all, you're walking into the venue, you got the security there. I don't have.
He's been to a lot of shows this year, by the way.
Nowadays, you just pull your phone out and you film it.
That's the
that's
thing.
right.
We've talked about those, and they're just so shitty. All I hear is the people talking around you.
Yeah,
You're half a mile away from Paul McCartney, and you post it as live Paul.
Well, there was a bootleg floating around for years of Steve Vai live at the Spirit Club, and every guitarist said you had to have it. So I bought it. 90 minutes, all she's got 3-piece band. But it's good. But in the middle of the show, you hear some guy, it's a bar, and then some guy going, hey, Tommy, this guy's fucking great, man. He's and it's I want him screaming at the stereo, shut up, But the ones that
I want another fuzzy navel.
Yeah.
and there was a thing with people recording sound checks.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Could be an employee
releasing
of
those as bootlegs.
Yeah, exactly. The rehearsal
I
ones.
made an album out of sound checks.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And so
New Adventures in Hi-Fi was a lot of sound checks.
Yep. And Fleetwood Mac's when it comes live album.
Like the Grateful Dead, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Now, how many times have they been bootlegged? And they don't mind. They just they encouraged it, right?
Back in the day, nobody sold bootlegs for Grateful Dead. So when I was in high school, I knew a Deadhead. You never paid. If you had a bootleg to trade, so you'd get a cassette, you'd copy it, you'd trade. I think the Dead were fine because that's all that was going on. Then it started to be people were selling them. The Dead did something very wise. They let the master of their vaults. First it was Dick Lemieux. I think that was his name, or Dick, I forget his last name. Dick's Picks. A bunch where he picked out shows, they put them out. And that kind of beat the bootleggers. There's one side to bootlegs. It does rip off the fans. I knew when I would get bootlegs, it may not sound so good. I just wanted to hear the concert. But you got some unsuspecting fans that were shelling out big bucks, and they're getting inferior quality. So what you've seen artists do now, Bob Dylan with his archive series, just releasing all this stuff, and it sounds good. So I do appreciate that artists are actually releasing all these tapes now.
I remember one time years ago buying a Beatle bootleg, and it had the LS Bumblebee on it. I remember that song.
I can hear the hum.
Right. Now that was, I don't know where that was recorded. Is that really a bootleg? I mean, it's obviously recorded, right? So
it was just someone patched together various takes of something. I guess that's a bootleg, but it wasn't. It was done
never
in
released
pieces.
right?
Yeah.
Silly
bootleg
song.
is,
The Dead probably had a lot of bootlegs because they. We're cross talking.
If anything, what more?
Nope.
I was just gonna say anything that the artist didn't authorize, that's a bootleg, I guess. So it doesn't matter what the content is, right? So go ahead.
But
Lou,
I mean,
sorry.
how about this Beatle movie Get Back? Beatle movie Get Back, right?
Yeah.
They're just goofing around, and then when the credits roll, it'll say, the little 3-minute nonsense that they did. It's a song now by Lennon and McCartney.
Yeah.
Whatever they decided to call it. Everything is a song.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You look at the credits
Right?
on Get Back. Everything is a credit. It's I think there's the one says guitar piano thing. Lennon McCartney. They just they
Right. Whatever they decided to call it. Yeah.
Was there a separate the two of us through gritted teeth?
Right.
Yes.
That's a bootleg. Right.
argument between George and Paul. Credited to George and Paul.
Yeah. So as far as the legalities of bootlegging, anybody ever been sued that you know of, to cease and desist?
I'm sure. Some bootlegs, as Lou mentioned, and you did too, there's some bootlegs actually became big sellers. They get above that, only available in shady record shops. Some bootlegs made it to the big record stores. That's when the lawsuits start.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I worked at the Bottom Line in New York City, Buddy Rich played there, and I took so much recording equipment off people. It was in the summer, they're dressed out of season.
Yeah.
Like that coat. And like, oh,
Yeah.
And for the time, pretty high tech.
Mm.
It was
And now they have
cassette
people.
stuff, but,
Now,
Or
certain
their earpieces.
certain acts, like if you go to see Jack Black, or rather Jack White, you have to put your cell phone in a Ziploc bag. So you're not going to record it. You're not going to post it as live Jack White. They stopped doing that because there's your recording equipment. Your cell phone is recording equipment.
Yeah.
So they have to nip that. And
Also,
I'm okay with it,
It's in the age of
Or how
social
about those
media too.
portable
They want to keep people surprised what the gig is like. So everyone's posting on Facebook this gig, and it's like then the people who are going 2 weeks from now will have no
Yeah.
surprise.
Well, that's exactly the point. I mean, you guys, Lou, you'll never forget that time you saw Blur's The Cult, right? Or when you saw Rush, you'll never forget that. It's a memory. But with the cell phones now, it's like you know.
Yeah.
Well,
I
they
know,
have
it all
these
seems a little
handheld
different.
field recording devices. You know, the things you use for recording. You know, you can
Yeah.
conceal one. It's not even a phone, but it's actually probably better for recording. You know, it's
Oh, they have
a lot of
those.
it's done
Yeah,
through that.
yeah.
Yeah.
They have
I
those
remember
things.
going
Yep.
to a Who concert.
And I think the Dead like so many bootlegs because we're doing it again. All right, go.
Oh, I was just saying I was at a Who concert.
Podcasters use those things.
Guy had a crutch and he
Yeah.
was holding it up with a mic on it. You know, he snuck it in. I think we got a serious delay between
Really?
us. I think that's what's going on.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're just rude. That's what I think it is.
I'm from Jersey. I can't help it.
Well, Lou, do you want to go the alternative route? Do you
Well,
want to talk about alternative rock, or do you
I
want
think
to
the reason
stay
that-
on bootlegs?
Well, I think the reason the Grateful Dead want so many bootlegs is that they're hoping to get a good sounding show out of one of them.
I knew that was coming.
But it makes them more popular. It seems to it seems to backfire on like the people that are anti bootleg. With the Grateful Dead, it helps them.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure
then
Buddy Rich wouldn't want it because he wasn't making money at that point anyway.
Buddy Rich?
Yeah, like there was people trying to bootleg his stuff, and he was playing high schools at that point, so he wasn't getting anything out of that. Why don't we talk about alternative after the record -5?
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Reason being, it
Yeah.
kind of makes sense.
I saw a clip the other day of Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich playing together, and they were like dueling.
You sent
like-
it. You sent it to me.
Wow, I'm like, whoa, like pretty cool,
Very, very different styles.
Yeah, yeah.
I voted for Buddy just because of his speed.
He kind of won the duel. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Krupa was unusual, but he seemed like he was almost a little intimidated almost at that point. It's kind of weird.
I think he
But-
was. I think he stepped back and he was just smiling at Buddy Rich because,
Yeah.
but I guess Buddy Rich. I mean, Gene Krupa was older at that point, right? And Gene Krupa
Probably.
was the king, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Buddy Rich.
Buddy was a young punk when he was playing with Sinatra with Tommy Dorsey, and those two would fight.
Yeah.
So apparently he tried to run Sinatra through with the hi-hat. Nail
shit.
him with it.
How about
Be a
we
fly on the
go?
wall.
We talk a little bit about Fender guitars, which is a favorite topic
Fender.
of ours, right?
Yes.
Fender guitars.
I think
my
we
head
each own
stuck.
one, don't we?
I
Yeah.
think we do.
There it is.
I think we do.
Or Fenderish.
Let me just give everyone a little background history that we all know. Anybody, because the listeners out there are well aware of this. I'm not selling but in 1965, Fender was sold to CBS. And you've heard the pre-CBS Fenders, post-CBS, right? So when CBS bought it, the big company, Columbia Broadcasting Systems, they wanted more production, right? More volume, more production. But as the production increases, the quality decreased and the quality control decreased. It's more, right? And that's why people are always looking for pre-CBS Fender equipment.
That was in 65 that they bought them?
1965. They owned it for 20 years. Yeah. CBS. Yep. And there was less attention to detail when, as the production ramps up, the detailing and the quality control slipped. So that's why people always look for the pre-CBS Fenders. But in 1984, CBS started cutting back now. They started cutting jobs in 1984. So they had already spoken with a Japanese company about making guitars in the near future. So what Fender did was CBS did. They cut the union jobs. They got rid of the union guys that were making the guitars, and they started rehiring the people they fired as independent contractors and started paying them in cash. So it's a real shady thing for CBS to do. But In 1985, they sold it to an invest company. So CBS owned it for 20 years, 65 to 85. Then they sold it to an invest.
That's the whole Columbia Broadcasting System, or that was there any subsidiary that really ran that, the Fender department, or
well, CBS knew nothing about making guitars. It was just a big company. It's like I'm not a motorcycle guy, but I know that when the bowling company AMC Voigt bought Harley Davidson, the quality went down. Like nobody wants those bikes anymore. So you know what I mean. So the big company buys Fender. They don't know what to do. We just need to sell more guitars. Just ramp it up. We need to sell more. So
where we're from, Fender got bought by Channel 2.
Pretty much, yes. The Columbia Broadcasting. Yep.
Right.
Yep. So in 1985, they sold it. CBS sold it to FMIC, an investment group, who, of course, now know nothing about guitars.
And
They're just
80s.
an investment company. So they bought, but this is what they bought. They bought the name Fender. They bought the intellectual property, and they bought some parts. So, and they didn't buy the factory.
They bought wings and drumsticks.
They bought,
Breasts.
I don't know, man, but
parts is parts, Barry.
So they didn't buy the factory in Fullerton, California, which is where Fenders were made. They leased it through them, right? So Fender now decides to move to Corona, California. They open up a factory in Corona, California. And they started rehiring the staff, some of the staff that CBS had fired with the trickery. Let's fire the union guys and hire so let's just hire them as independent contractors. We don't have to pay them medical. We don't have to do anything. They're just, they're getting paid as independent contractors. So that's what happened there. But so a bunch of there were Japanese businessmen, Japanese guitar enthusiasts, and Japanese luthiers decided to band together and start a company. And this is the company that makes the guitars. They're called Fuji Gengaki. And this is the company that made the Japanese guitars.
The Strats,
so
the Fenders.
What they did was, it was interesting what the Japanese did. They bought, by the way, when CBS had it, the prices went skyrocketed. Fender used to be like an affordable instrument, quality instrument that you can get. When CBS bought them, the prices went nuts. So the Japanese companies, Fujigen, it's called FJN, but it's Fujigen Gaki. They started a factory to manufacture these. So they bought American 1950s Fenders, and they bought American 1960s Fenders, these classic pre-CBS instruments, and they deconstructed them. They took them apart.
Smart.
They really wanted to know. They unwound the pickups and all these things to learn what it is. And the Japanese ingenuity, they started making exact copies of Telecasters and Stratocasters under different names.
From the early 60s, mostly.
Yes, they were exact copies. Yep, because they learned. They unwound the pickups. They learned about the electronics. They studied the wood. They did all this. And so they started making under the nameplate Greco, ESP, and all these other names that the Japanese companies did. But Fender found out about this and ordered a cease and desist for them to stop doing this. And it was copyright infringement, and it was. It was blatant copyright infringement. So Fujigen had to stop doing it. But now somebody at Fender thought, wait a minute. Why don't we make a deal with the Japanese to build Fender guitars? And this makes so much more sense now, right? Rather than them making, exact copies with different nameplate, have them build ours. So that's what Fender decided to do. They had Squires. They built the Squires, but they also made fantastic guitars. And an American team went over there from Fender to check out their operation, see what's going on. And it was said that the Americans were almost in tears as to how good the quality of these Japanese guitars were in 1985. And it's incredible. They said they were so good. And and they said in Made in Japan, the Made in Japan name on the Fenders, the work ethic, they cut no corners. There's no room for shortcuts with them. Exceptional attention to detail with the Japanese Fenders and their focused attitude. It's just what you weren't getting from American Fenders at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
So they started doing that in 85.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. For how long?
Still going on today.
So the Squires and the budget line Fenders.
The Squires were the budget line. The Squires were like the really inexpensive ones, but the Fender guitars that they made were like, for instance, they bought the old ones. So, for instance, the one you have, Lou, is a 62 reissue, made in Japan.
Right.
62 reissue. And they said the one you have is the most authentic neck carved. They said the way they carved the neck was just so good. And the body, the way they said it's comparable to pre-CBS Fender Telecasters.
Really? Wow.
That's how good that guitar is.
Well,
what do you have? And they were not meant to be sold to the American market. So just coming across one, it's a big deal.
Wow. So I wonder how the one I bought that from you, as we know.
Yeah.
For about a little over $300.
It's got an older body. It's got an older body, and they were using Fender USA pickups on them too.
What is the neck? It's got rosewood neck.
It's got a rosewood fingerboard. Yep,
fingerboard rather. Yeah, but you know what's the neck made of? You know.
Well, I would think it's maple.
They would use. I think maple was used a lot
in the back. Yeah, and they put a fingerboard on top of it.
Right. So it's an older body.
An older body. Yep. But you have of course the standard 3-pole bridge, right? Do you guys ever wonder? You know, at the head of a guitar, you know what a shoe tree is?
Is that the thing that
when you show your guitar, we'll go into it a little bit. But yeah, so that's
we're talking about Fender Jap. We should take a look at it.
Yeah. So Lou, you want to show everyone out there your Telecaster, your
Would you like
Made
to
in
see
Japan
it?
Telecaster?
Would you like to see it?
Is this the Price is Right,
dude?
Buffalo Bill.
I want to show it to you.
That's great.
Okay, here she is.
Nice.
Let's see the lighting being what it is. I may just move the camera back a bit, the mic back, and you guys.
That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm going to move mine. Yep.
I'll shine my flashlight on you, Lou.
So there it is. Now there's the bridge and the yep.
Okay.
And the telly pickup. Where does it say "Made in Japan"? On the back of the neck, at the base of the neck.
Here's the gouge in it.
Oh my goodness. That's a limited edition gouge.
Wow, would somebody hit that with a hammer and try and distress it?
I don't want to talk about it.
Let's see the headstock.
Yeah.
Do you know? That's cool. I see the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that guitar is.
And backwards,
it's a 62 reissue because it has double binding on the front and back.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Would you like to see my
TL,
double binding?
It's technically called because it's made in Japan. It's a TL62 reissue. Yep.
To anyone listening and
Fine
not
guitar,
watching,
yeah.
it's an awesome looking guitar. That is a great looking guitar.
Yeah.
Made in Japan.
Made in Japan. Yep.
Great album.
Interestingly, Fender guitars, of course, have a bolt-on neck. Bolt-on neck. Gibsons do not have bolt-on necks. Fender decided we'll do a bolt-on neck because you can just replace the neck if something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
right?
With the Gibson, someone has to smash into pieces on you, and then you have it rebuilt with a new neck.
Gibson, they're fitted necks. They're glued on.
Yeah.
They're glued in. Yeah. They're not bolted on like Fenders. Yeah. But Fenders were more affordable because of the bolt-on neck.
Is there disadvantages to the bolt-on neck? Does it have to do with like intonation, potential problems or adjustments and
As
stuff?
long as the neck is screwed on properly, yep.
You can change the neck. It's easier to change.
You can. Well, for instance,
Now-
there's the Bruce Springsteen thing, right? On the cover of Born to Run. It says Fender Esquire. But even Bruce says it's a Telecaster with an Esquire neck. He has 3 pickups on that guitar. Apparently the guitar had 4 pickups on it at one time. Bruce's, even Bruce said it's a Telecaster with an Esquire neck. The Fender Esquires, when they came out in 1950, they had no truss rod. They didn't. They just said you put it, change the neck, swap the neck out.
Really?
There was no truss rod. Yep. So Bruce claims it's a Tele with an Esquire neck. Other people disagree. They say it's an Esquire.
Was the Esquire a separate guitar? Was it called the Telecaster Esquire, or was it just Esquire?
1950 was the Fender Esquire.
Okay.
1 pickup, bridge pickup. That's it. One
It didn't
pickup.
have the it didn't have the lipstick pickup.
They were all cut out for it, but it was covered by the
Or the pick guard.
by the pick guard. It was covered.
Huh.
They were routed out for it because they figured they were
like a
smart
hidden
enough
closet.
to know that we're going to need another. We're going to need that because they knew that Gibson was coming out with a 2 pickup model also. So they knew they were going to have to do with that, and then of course. Then it became the Fender Broadcaster, but of course we've discussed in the past how who was it? Who was the company? Gretsch had a drum kit called the Broadcaster, and they put a cease and desist. So Fender took off the Broadcaster sticker, and they became Fender No Casters because it just said Fender on it. Didn't say, excuse me, didn't say anything else. It just said Fender. And then I think about a half a year later, they decided to name it the Telecaster, and that's what it became. Yeah.
I wonder why that came about. Does that
Space
mean
age
something?
stuff. Space age, yeah.
Like Telstar.
Yeah, yep. Like Stratocaster. Stratocaster is a cool name. I just think it's so cool,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool looking guitar for whenever it came out in the 50s. It seemed modern looking.
I think 54 was the first.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
It had it was a sleek look. There's my Gretsch. It's a GT66 or something. It's when I play it sitting down, it's okay. It's a big body, but playing it standing up is almost uncomfortable. It's big. It's good. It's a big body, but it almost hurts my ribs. It's weird. The Telecaster is weird because when I bought it from you, I didn't play guitar. Knew a couple chords, but anyone who has picked up that guitar that knows guitar says, as you mentioned. It's like a
They carved the
pre-CBS
neck
instrument.
perfectly, yeah.
That's what they said. They said the guitar has an amazing neck.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it feels good to me, but I don't know that. I didn't know the difference between a neck that didn't feel good. Like I had my Stratocaster. I had my hands were too small.
Now,
I got little hands.
Mark, you've got a Stratocaster there, do you not?
Yeah. Want me to
Now-
show it?
Oh yeah, because there's the difference between the Telecaster and the Stratocaster. 3-position switch, Lou, you have on yours, right?
Okay, hold on a second.
Yes.
You get the neck pickup, the bridge pickup, and then the both of them.
And a volume and tone knob.
So Mark has
Nice.
looks like, what color is that? A blonde Fender Stratocaster?
It's an off-white. I wanted to get an Arctic
it's-
white, and
it's-
they didn't have any.
It's not a hardtail though. Is it a hardtail or do you have a whammy bar?
It's a whammy bar. I have never used
Okay,
a
it's
whammy
a
bar. I
whammy
lost
bridge,
it.
yep.
I don't do that stuff. It's got a 5-position switch.
5-position switch, 3
Yeah.
pickups, obviously.
Yeah.
Now the bottom pickup, the black one.
Okay.
Yeah.
This pickup
Is it-
is a Carvin. It's my modification courtesy of Kevin Pauly. It's a humbucking single stacked or whatever you want to call it, a humbucking pickup, but I just wanted a little more power in the bridge.
Are the poles staggered on it? Are the poles staggered or are they straight?
No, they're straight. But you got 6 poles, there's 12 on this. There's like typical Carvin. Carvin was just different. They did everything different. I miss that company.
Yeah. What about the headstock?
So the headstock.
See, Lou, he's got double guitar trees, string trees.
Right.
That's the tree you're talking about right there?
Those are trees, yeah. Now, there's a reason for those. You don't see them on Gibsons because they're 3 and 3, right? But on Fenders, there's 6 tuners straight in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Now, consider this. The B and the E, the 2 thinnest strings on your guitar, have the longest run to get to the tuners.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that string tree comes in now.
It's
because if it wasn't there, your guitar would be popping out of the nut. Right. So it's there for a reason.
Right.
And it's also said that it helps when you play it open, it helps the stain or it helps it ring. Yeah. Without that, if you didn't have the string tree, there would be problems.
And I got
Mark has double. Mark bolt on neck, 4 bolts, right?
Yeah.
I have one of mine, but I don't use it.
So
we should have plugged them in.
And Mark, so Mark has the double string trees.
Yeah.
So the reason for that is because the G string. Some G strings are wound and some are not wound, right?
Yeah.
So like on your acoustic, you might not have your G string might be wound,
right.
So no one knows what kind of strings you're going to use.
Yeah, my acoustic is wound on the G. Yeah,
it helps with sustain, but it helps from those strings popping out of the nut if they weren't there because they got that long run to get to the tuners.
Yep. Now, just the reason I love Strats is they're the most comfortable to play. This shape for my arm
with the contour,
standing, and in the back, it's got that on top. So I got a belly. So when you have a belly, it makes it a lot easier. I used to have this Les Paul, and it cuts into my arm when I'm playing. I don't feel comfortable playing a Les Paul. These are just comfortable, but you got to fight the neck. And when I play the Telly, anytime I've ever played a Telly, it's the most comfortable neck in the world to me. Whereas with a Strat, you kind of have to fight with it to get the sound. It's a little different in the feel.
Yeah. I find it hard to navigate. What kind of bridge is that, Mark?
Down here?
That's a standard. That's a 6-post bridge. Yeah, standard Stratocaster.
It should have a whammy bar. It's a floating bridge, but I don't like whammy bars. So that would probably be the only modification I'd make.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Most Telecasters will have the three-post bridge like that one. Yep.
But if you look at it, you can see it's raised. It's like a big plate.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's a lot bigger than this.
That's all. It's all connected. If you unscrew that bridge, the pickup comes out with it.
Well, I like it because it's a place where you can rest your hand. You can use it almost as a fulcrum.
Which is why the ashtray. You'll never find the ashtray because when the ashtray was there, you couldn't mute the strings because it got in the way.
Isn't that what? Oh, the cover. The cover.
Yeah. Yep. They call that the ashtray. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's weird.
But I just want to give a shout out to Kevin Pauly for this. This was a great modification he did for me. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
Did
you ever see pickups like on Stratocasters, Lou, or maybe your Strat was like that, where on the back pickup, the posts some of them are staggered.
Yeah. On what?
On the back pickup, some of the posts are staggered.
Oh, right.
That's for a reason. So because apparently the magnetic field follows, the little curvature of the neck. So by raising that, it makes sure that you're getting equal power to all the strings, as opposed to having you don't want anybody not to hear your B string or whatever.
Right. Okay.
So that's what those staggered poles were for. Yep.
So now you had a Stratocaster, I remember at one point.
I did. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Now yours, I remember behind the headstock, there was a black. It was painted black along the on the back of the headstock. Was that something of a particular series, or
that was I bought it off. I bought it off somebody. It was a mid 1970s Strat. Yeah.
Okay, but it was an American made Strat.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of it? Did you like it?
I didn't like it. No, because I was playing Rickenbackers at that time, and They were just too dinky for me.
That's a radically different
But
neck.
I happen to have my guitar here. I happen to have mine.
There it
Move
is.
my microphone out of the way. I think you can probably still hear me. This is it's a G&L. But you notice the bridge, Lou.
If you can get more light,
it's a six-post bridge.
if you can get more light on it, it'd be easier to see. But I get the point. But
Yeah, it's a six-post
Okay.
bridge. Yep.
Yeah.
And it has two black pickups as to where yours would have the silver, the chrome pickup
Mhm.
there. Yeah.
So why is yours called a G&L?
George and Leo.
George and
Leo. Yeah, let me put this down. Leo Fender was not allowed to use his Fender name, of course. The company sold, and he couldn't legally do it. So
Did
George
he
Fulton
leave?
and Leo.
Did he leave Fender
Was
when
that
they were
Mark?
sold to CBS?
I think so. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right.
So it was after that point. So
Yeah.
after 65, he couldn't use his name.
Once it's sold, yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
I mean, he probably still worked for them back in '65,
Right.
but he
Right.
just didn't own the company anymore. So sometime, I don't know, it was maybe 1980 or whatever, they decided to. George Fulton, by the way, was with Leo Fender in 1948. They were the ones who
Okay.
worked on. George Fulton may have been the one who came up with the Telecaster design. George Fulton. So anyway, George and Leo, that's the G&L name.
Okay.
So in effect, Leo Fender and George Fulton designed the guitar.
Mm-hmm. Well, for all intents and purposes, it is a Fender of sorts.
Yeah.
From the,
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
they're not inexpensive either, was it?
it was when I got it in 20-something years ago, it was just shy of $1,000. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Yep. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
So that probably qualifies as almost like the boutique line of guitars. Like, it wasn't mass produced, probably.
Yeah, I probably got the middle of the. I mean, they had some really expensive
Really? Yeah.
custom ones. Yep. One
I
at
played
Robbie's
it.
Music
Great guitar.
Barn.
You bought the G&L there?
Yeah, Rob. They didn't sell Fenders. Yeah.
Okay. I thought
Yeah.
you ordered that. Yeah, they didn't sell many name brands there. There's lower, lesser known, what are
Yeah,
no-name
they
brands.
sold a lot of Washburns and
Yep.
those kind of
Yep.
things, right?
My Seagull acoustic.
Yep. Well, anyway, that was it. So we each have
Harry,
a Fender.
let me
style
ask you
guitar.
something.
Yeah, Mark.
So mine was made where? You researched my serial number.
Yours was made in Corona, California,
Okay.
1986.
that.
Corona,
Yep.
California. Yep.
And I spent
Yep.
$750 on it. That's a lot of newspaper deliveries saved up for that thing.
Yeah. And when they moved their factory to Corona, California, they were making just vintage Fender vintage series, and they were making American Standard Stratocasters with the serial number E4, which is yours. So yours was like one of the first lines made in Corona, California, when they moved from Fullerton to Corona. Yep.
That's why
Interesting. So Lou has a
salesman
rare one, and you have a rare one.
Yeah, the salesman at Victor's kept saying they're back in the U.S. Grab it. So I bought it.
And if you look on some of these sites that sell guitars, Lou, yeah, it's like some of these Japanese 62 tele reissues. Some of them want $1,800 for them.
Yeah.
Some of them want, of course, depending on the quality, but
In the shape of it, yeah.
they're
mine has some. Mine
quite
has a little,
valuable rare guitars. Yeah.
Mine has some cosmetic damage on the front, like I showed, so it would probably knock the value
Nothing
down.
wrong with that. That's called
if it
experience.
happens on the road,
It's got character. Oh, that guitar's been played a lot in a lot of places.
Yeah.
I was, from New York and Florida and all over the place, North Carolina. Yeah.
So, is there anything
Actually,
happening?
the Fender, when the last band I was in, Edenville, that Telly was my main guitar. I used the Strat on. I had a Strat at that time. I used maybe 3 songs, but the Telly was my guitar throughout that whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Anything happen in the world of music news? Maybe.
Yeah.
Anything happened lately?
We had a very unfortunate passing this week.
Now, music relish news with Mark Smith.
Hello, Lou. We had a very, very unusual,
Hi.
unfortunate passing this week. Everyone's bummed if you haven't heard. Christine McVie, I like to call her by her birth name, Christine Perfect. Passed away at 79. It
Legendary
surprised
Christine
everybody.
Perfect.
Yeah. She was born in 1943. Christine Perfect. As Mick Fleetwood said, she was the glue that held Fleetwood Mac together in the early days when she joined. And she was a very integral part of the band, wrote some beautiful songs. But I discovered something about her as I was doing a little research. She had actually played with them since their second album when they were a strict blues band. So she was on the second and third Then Play On, that big album with Black Magic Woman. And then she became a full member when they did the album Kiln House, which was the first album after Peter Green left. And that's when Mick Fleetwood said she pretty much saved the band, because it was Danny Kerwin and Jeremy Spencer and Mick and John McVie without Peter Green. They had no leader. Nobody wanted to be the leader. So he became the leader, but then she became a full-time member, writing songs. And that's what held it. Actually, Kiln House wasn't the one. I'm sorry that she became. It was Future Games is where she became a true member with Bob Welch playing. So, she was just a very big part of that band.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with any of those old Fleetwood Mac records, other than till the big ones. The period from after Peter Green left until Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks came in, they called a middle period. It's something you should check out, because some of Bob Welch's songs were really, really good, and they were very interesting.
They really
are. Yeah. I've heard, when I say I'm not familiar with them, I mean, I've heard Bare Trees. I've listened to that record in the past, but didn't blow me away. That's all.
Yeah, I'd say. Well, when I first heard those albums, I bought Mystery to Me, the one with Hypnotize. I didn't like it for years. I listened to it and I was like, blah. Then I just got it. Like, after about 5 years of listening to it,
that's
like
the Bob Welch period, right? You got me hypnotized, right?
Yeah. And Sentimental Woman, some really good stuff. And he would rip off some really neat jazz lines in those songs if you listen close. He was a very unique individual.
Yeah, the guitar playing Hypnotize is really good.
Yeah.
Like her keyboard work, she's not known as a virtuoso, but I mean, it's in there. It's such a part of the structure and the rhythmic structure of the material. As a singer too. I mean, everyone's like Stevie, but I always thought I was like that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, she wrote probably the biggest hit they ever had, right?
Which one?
Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow. Didn't she write that song?
I would think so. I heard Hold Me. I heard Hold Me today. That's a great 80s pop hit. I think that's a lot of her too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good pop. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And their sound after Rumors, it had that modern, could have been anybody producing, and Mick Fleetwood should never have had to sound like a drum machine,
Yeah.
But song had a good sound though. And her vocal's great.
But oddly enough, she was a blues player before, in the 60s. And so she kind of...
In Chicken Shack.
Yeah.
Really?
That's a cool name for a band. She had the perfect stage name, Christine Perfect. Why change it, Well, I guess she got married. I would have kept it.
Well, she put out a solo album under the name Christine Perfect. I'd love to hear it. It came out in 1969. I bet you it's just a blues album. I'll have to try to see if I could check it out.
She wrote some great songs, though. Some of my, some of those big Fleetwood Mac records.
And a true team player, not just writing songs, but working with the band. And that's what Mick meant when he said she was the glue that kept the band together.
Yeah.
So,
and she didn't like living in California too much either.
Really?
She hated to fly.
Can't blame her for that.
Yep. And actually, if you want to hear just a quick snippet of her vocal harmonies,
I do.
It's a Bob Welch song, Sentimental Lady, but to listen to how she sings around him. I don't know if you can hear it, but she's like snaking around Bob Welch's chorus there, and that's a beautiful harmony.
Yeah. She does all I need is
That's on his remake that he did on his solo album. He remade that, and her vocal's more prominent on the remake.
Yes.
That was actually a hit.
So the legendary Christine McVie. She died in the UK, right?
Yeah. No cause of death listed, but just
I was curious whether it was expected or sudden. Yeah,
a short illness, and I heard an interview with Stevie on the radio because she didn't know. She had no idea she was sick.
Yeah.
And but I think they seem to have a good relationship. I think back and forth interviews. Who doesn't get along? But
she did a record with Lindsay.
I think they actually got past a lot of stuff.
She did a record with Lindsey Buckingham just a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
Christine and Lindsay. Yeah, they did a duo album. Yeah.
When Lindsay was asked to join the group, he said, I have Stevie and we come as a pair. Mick Fleetwood went to John McVie. That's the best thing, she didn't come. It's a good thing. Mick Fleetwood went to Christine McVie and said,
Christine,
Stevie's going to join another woman. I want you to meet her and tell me what you think. Well, they hit it off first thing. They were like soulmates, best friends. There was never a problem between those two. And Christine said, yep, they're different, but that's why they mixed well.
The only problem was cocaine. That was when the problems arise. Yeah.
There's so many bands.
Cocaine. Yeah.
The band, everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Where'd the money go? Okay. Right up your nose.
So did she make any solo records?
She made an album in 1969 under Christine Perfect, produced by, I believe, Danny Kerwin, who was in the band. Then she did do an album in the 80s. I don't remember the name of it. She toured behind that album too. I don't recall if there were any singles that I remember off it. Do you, Lou?
No. Nope.
Yeah. No. So it's probably a good album. I'll have to check it out.
Well, that was too bad. Yeah, she was well loved. And,
you know what? Don't be sad. Just give her the props she deserves. Look back on a great musical career.
Yeah, I mean, she left us behind. So it's the legacy will carry on,
and to be well spoken of. Along the way. Yeah. She came up in some of those Beach Boys books because before Dennis Wilson died, they dated briefly, and even by reading that, she seemed like she was like a sweet person. She was seemed like a very caring individual, and that's a guy that needed a lot of care. But she seemed to have a very giving nature, And like I said, you hear it in the music too. It's kind of dreamy, but kind of really even keeled. She must seem like a low key, very melodic, and and a beautiful voice too. Yeah,
I think the song that
my favorite's "Over My Head."
Yes.
It's a great song.
Songbird.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did she write one called Songbird or something too? Which
That's
is
what
real
Mark
gentle,
just said.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else is in the news, Mark?
You know what? Nothing really happened this week. We had a lawsuit involved Guns N' Roses. I really don't want to talk about Guns N' Roses.
I get no happiness talking about fuck Axl Rose. Yeah.
Did anybody get hurt?
He threw a microphone into a crowd and he broke a lady's nose, gave her two black eyes.
Oh, that's right. That's a jerk.
But I said, I just wasted too much time on it. See, we gave Axl some press.
There we go. Yeah, just what he wanted.
Axl Rose is a see you next Tuesday.
Stop.
See you next Thursday. That's what men get. Oh boy.
What about this guy who was producer for Deep Purple and many others? He died. Right, Martin Birch.
Well, it's funny that I didn't. In 2020, I just was realizing it, but
I didn't know. Yeah,
that's fairly recent.
We landed on the moon.
But Martin Birch has produced albums that are a part of my life. He's a big I've always seen his name. He's probably one of the first engineers and producers I noticed because made in Japan. From Deep Purple.
Than Blois of Colt and Deep Purple, who did he produce?
Well, first of all, you got to say he produced Deep Purple every album from 1969's Concerto for Group and Orchestra up until 1977 when they broke up. So he was with that band. But when Ritchie Blackmore left and started Rainbow, he did all the albums that Ronnie James Dio were on. So now you think this is like the king of hard rock and heavy metal. But back in the day, in 1969, starting in 69, he did Fleetwood Mac's albums. So he was the engineer on Then Play On.
Really?
Engineer on Kiln House, Bare Trees, Penguin, and Mystery to Me. See, there's
cool.
one missing in
Pear
there. So he's
trees.
not all hard rock, right?
So you got that's amazing.
He also engineered Wishbone Ash's.
He was an engineering, not producing at that point.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm looking closely. Mystery to Me, he was listed as a producer, and Penguin, he was listed as a producer. So he got in there. On Deep Purple, now don't forget, he did it Machine Head, and we've all agreed that's an amazing sound album, drum sound and everything.
Amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he also recorded Made in Japan.
It was recorded in an old abandoned hotel or something, right?
Yeah, I love the sound of that album.
I don't know if you guys are mobile.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Wishbone Ash, but he engineered Argus among two others, which is a great album. He did your favorite band, Perry. He did a bunch of Whitesnake albums.
Yeah,
and,
really.
Before they became
done Slide It In.
Yes, he did Slide It In. That's a good album, actually. Slide It In, and he did Two Boys to Colt
to the Top.
Yeah,
damn right he did. You bet your ass he did, Mark. What albums by Blue Oyster Cult did he produce?
Cultosaurus Erectus.
Great album.
After that title, a boring title, Fire of Unknown Origin. Nothing beats Cultosaurus Erectus.
Yeah.
Love that.
No, it doesn't. But Fire of Unknown Origin is the last great VOC record.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
He was known for his ability to record drums really well.
That's what I understand, yeah.
Yeah, like the VOC records, the drums are a lot of mid-range, but like they're EQ'd nice, but you can hear everything. But they're clean, but they're heavy, they're meaty, but they sound great. They're equalized really well.
Yeah,
both VOC records. And didn't he produce Iron Maiden?
Well, I'll get into that in a second. He produced and engineered two career-defining Black Sabbath albums, because when Dio left Rainbow and he joined Black Sabbath, you'd think he would have done more Black Sabbath albums. He only did those two, Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, which had Vinny Appice on Mob Rules. He had a great recording of his drums. I always loved that sound. Then, in 1981, he decided to exclusively produce Iron Maiden, and that was their second album. They weren't big then, so he started producing and engineering with the Killers album, and he went with them all the way up to Fear of the Dark in 1992, and after that, he retired from music. He didn't do anything else. So he's a big part of making them who they are, and he kept them in line in the studio. They had a nickname for him. I don't remember what it was, but he was like a fifth member.
Attila the Hun or something.
I think they call him
sometimes.
Did he produce Run to the Hills?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only Iron Maiden song I really know.
That's a great video, by the way.
Great.
That's a weird video, man. Whether you like the band or not, it's pretty clever.
That's a great song. It's the only one I know. I'm not an Iron Maiden fan, but that song is great.
I saw a kid throw up trying to sing that at a talent show, high school talent show.
I bet, man. I bet. His diaphragm was giving out, right?
Well, what he did is he drank a whole bunch of chloroseptic things before it and numbed his throat up. So the band's playing and he's trying to hit the notes, and the soundman goes like this. He goes, he's like sing lower, and this guy thought him was Don. He thought he had to crouch down lower, like he was getting stage directions, and then he just ran off the side of the stage and hurled green.
Started vomiting all this green stuff or
all
fruity stuff. Before he starts vomiting off all those fruity things.
And some paper clips.
Talk about embarrassing.
That's a great song, though. Yeah,
they were the greatest heavy metal band.
For that guy.
They were the greatest heavy metal band of the '80s. Being a Judas Priest fan, I'll say that Iron Maiden were the best. I loved them.
Really?
He also produced. Go ahead. Sorry, Lou.
No, I was just thinking. I guess they are a heavy metal band. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking hard rock. Yeah. But it all gets in there. But they were metal.
I was last night. I was watching the Live After Death video. That was a big part of my high school years. That was their big peak, and I was watching. They're very progressive. Steve Harris writes most of their songs, and if you listen, you can tell it's a bass player writing it.
Bass player,
yeah. And they're
now currently is Bruce Dickinson still in the band?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He just can't fly the plane anymore.
Man, he can fly the band. He can fly the band, right?
No, I think he lost his pilot license. I read something. He can't fly it anymore. I don't know why.
Good. And Bruce Dickinson, when he's he puts his pants on one leg at a time when he's not producing hit records. So the cowbell skit, were they using Bruce Dickinson? I think we talked about this because they didn't get it from Iron Maiden. There was some obscure guy named Bruce Dickinson somewhere.
Yes, I've seen his name
Yeah,
on albums.
I don't know about that. But with the piloting and everything, like
I'm fucking Buddy Holly, that's who I am.
Oh,
Did the monkey fly the plane?
I mean, think about it though. That documentary, Flight 666, they tour the world. Bruce pilots the big 747. It's the best thing for a documentary. It's
piloted
awesome.
a jumbo jet.
yeah.
I don't know if it was a 747, but it was a jumbo jet. Yeah.
Yep. And a couple little mentions.
But you cannot be an idiot rock star and do that.
No.
You have to.
No.
You have to be like
no alcohol, no drugs,
A's in mathematics, and those kind of things. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like Artemis Pyle.
Yep.
He was going to go into civil aviation.
Who was the honorable mention?
Well, he engineered Beck Ola from Jeff Beck. That was the second album from
Really?
Jeff Beck.
Wow. Oh, cool.
Faces Long Player. That's a good album. And he had, like I said, with the heavy metal, he did Michael Schenker Group's Assault Attack. I had that album. I like him.
Yeah,
so. He did a lot of stuff. I mean, there's nothing I don't know that he did. Like, there's no bands that I looked at, so I don't know who that is.
Right.
Pretty much a lot of stuff I listened to in my life. So he was, a big part of my. Well, it's sad to see he died, but he died quietly. He didn't work for the last 15 years of his life. He took it easy. He got out of it. And
he had long-term relationships, it seems like, especially.
Yeah.
It might seem like one of the heavy metal hard rock producers to go to, but like I said, even, 2 BSC records.
Was he old? Did he live to be old?
He was 70 something. Yeah. Can't remember the exact age. So, and
Not
you're right,
old enough.
because the relationship, he actually molded Iron Maiden. He took these young guys in London that, their first Iron Maiden is very punky, and he took the band. They were like, had this raw sound. He kind of honed them down into a better sounding band. And I credit him with their success. So
It looks like he didn't lang them either. He produced them and guided them, but he didn't overtake them. Like he's not in all the songwriting credits, I would assume.
No, not at all. But they put his picture on a few albums. Like they would always, like somewhere, like the live album, they'd have a picture of him at the recording console. Peace of Mind, they had him in a castle. Like, so they paid a lot of credit to him. They was, probably saw him as a father figure.
Well, back in the days when you used to get artwork with albums too, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to mention them again. For a band that was kind of struggling, he got BOC a hit record. And 2, really, Cultosaurus. Thank you. Cultosaurus was a good return for them, but Fire Unknown Origin was a hit record with a hit single, and he did them right. He did them right.
That album was a monster. They were all over the radio. Even Joan Crawford was played on the radio. Now, think about it. You wouldn't think that would make it on the radio, but it was big.
No. It was weird.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do a one-hit wonder. How about that, guys?
Cool.
I'm ready to lose.
No, it's not going to be even a guess. Everyone, the whole world knows. The whole world, as far as I'm concerned, this is a one-hit wonder. Maybe they're a 2-hit wonder. I don't know, but we'll just let it ride for a few seconds.
Come on,
what a great song.
Come on, Eileen. I can't say it the way he says it. Come on, Eileen. I can't.
Dexy's Midnight Runners. That is a one-hit wonder as far as I'm concerned. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure in Europe they've had many more hits, right?
In the U.S., probably.
Yeah.
Johnny Ray.
That is, I like that song. I just always like that song. Yeah.
Did you really?
Song.
Yeah. Yep.
It always got on my nerves.
I always found it interesting. The melody.
I put up the Remented hats. Remember that hats?
Sure.
It's up there with the safety dance with me. What's his name? Kevin something?
Kevin Cronin. I don't know.
No, it's not. Kevin Rowland, though, isn't it?
You mentioned it a couple of times in the past.
He has a notorious solo album.
I think you mentioned
cover.
it with Scott McLean one time about the guy's name. Yeah.
He has one of the most embarrassing solo album covers of all time. It's pretty bad.
Really?
By any standard, yeah. I think that was probably a one-hit wonder. That was a big hit. That was a smash hit.
Yeah. I've got another one, too. I actually have another one.
You got
This
two.
one I
Okay.
want you to guess. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Mark, you ready to rip?
I'm ready. I'm doing a little IT work here.
Okay.
Go for it.
Dexy.
Yeah, I
Another
remember
clue.
that song.
Really?
Save the night. Da, da, da.
The band was called Eagle Eye Cherry.
Yes, yes.
That's it. Save the night.
Lay our misery. Save tonight.
Save tonight.
Fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow.
Right? You've
Okay.
heard it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eagle Eye Cherry. That's the
Eagle
only
Eye
thing
Cherry.
I've ever heard from them. Yeah.
They put out albums, but nothing like that. You know, they were around for a little while. Backing up to Dexy's
Yeah.
Midnight Runners.
Did Buck Cherry come from that band?
Yeah. Dexy's Midnight Runners.
They had a number one smash previously, but it was in Great Britain. It was called Gino. So I guess it's still, if we're, talking about one-hit wonders, they didn't have it in the United States.
Right,
so.
yeah. In the UK, but we're talking about the American market. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Lou, have you got a one-hit
Okay.
wonder? Because
The only one that matters.
Oh, right. we all have FM voices today. What's
Theo,
up?
how do you feel now? You
Yes,
don't
we
know
do.
where he is. You
Mark-
don't know
Mark, your
who's
camera
with me.
disappeared.
He's with his friends. Dad, will you leave him out of this? He's suffering enough. The man hasn't been able to
Did my
digest
camera
a decent
disappear?
meal in 6 weeks.
Yes, it did. But we can hear you.
we can hear you. We have the audio.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see you
So Lou
guys.
has a
was-
one-hit wonder.
Your voice was pixelating before your camera cut out.
Oh, boy.
But you can hear me. So this was a one-hit wonder in 1979. That year. That year
Okay.
with many hits. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. I got my volume up. I'll try to pick this up better than I did last week.
Wow. It's got that Bruce Springsteen sound.
It kind of does. It kind of does. It kind of does. It was a pretty
I've
big
heard that-
hit. It is he had a hit in the UK. He's British. He had a hit in the UK, but that is his only American top 40 hit. Where'd I put it? Where did I put it? Got it.
That's not Bram Tchaikovsky, right?
You're damn right it is. You bet your ass it is, Perry.
It is.
Do you know the name of the song?
If you let it play a little bit more,
Sure.
I might guess it, but
Okay.
Bram
Where will we go?
Tchaikovsky. Yeah, that's a great pop song, man. That's a great pop song.
What's the name of that song?
It's called Girl of My Dreams.
She's the girl of my dreams. Yeah, yep.
It is the best pop song ever written about a blow-up doll.
Really.
Judy was an American girl, and she came in the U.S. mail. She didn't say much, but she looked pretty good to me.
See, I didn't know all that when I heard it on the radio. I just
I
like
didn't
the
either.
melody. I like
Yeah,
the
I know that.
melody. Yeah.
And the girl of my dreams. And,
Yep.
And there ain't no time when I feel like yelling, I love you. She makes everything all right when there's no one else around. She's the girl of my dreams.
Good lyrics.
And it really is. It's pretty clever. So that was from the album called Strange Man, Change Man. His real name's Peter Bramall. Let's see, he was on Radar Records. Robert Christgau, the rock critic, he can be a real dick. He can be a real prick. I'm sorry. He's done some funny things. It might be him that came up with SHT for GTR. I know you're a fan, Mark, but he did did an acronym review for GTR. But he's done some pretty clever things. But he's also really full of himself. He christened himself the dean of American rock critics.
Really?
Okay, yeah. Get out of your ass, Anyway, so he and on that album, it was Bram Tchaikovsky was considered new wave. So Robert Christgau, amongst other things, he said the record was old wave power pop. And he calls it Crosby, and Crosby, like the rest of the record. I don't know.
What a douchebag.
Really, yeah. He's done pretty cutting stuff, but
I've got another one-hit wonder.
But that's a great pop song.
That's one of the best pop songs I've ever heard. Yeah.
Okay, now in the top 40, what was its chart placement?
I have no idea.
Each you get 2 guesses. Come on, play with me. 2 guesses.
Number 18.
Wrong.
Number 12.
Wrong.
Nah, I think it was like way down there, like number 37.
Yes, you are correct. Number 37.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice. Good guess, Perry.
That was an absolute guess, and it's just still a good
You
song.
can tell. You can tell, like in that year and any year, when if you hear a song like "Losing My Religion," right? It's a fucking number 1 song. Yeah. I got tired of hearing that, but that song you didn't hear it so much that you were like, okay, great song.
Yeah,
like,
it was oversaturation. That's the problem I had with Hall & Oates. I don't want to hear Hall & Oates anymore.
But when I look back now, I'm so much more forgiving. I think they were great songwriters, great singers, and those are great pop songs. But
yeah,
like
when you look back on it, yeah,
right. And they knew it too, which is why they walked away.
How about this number 1 song? Well, you know what? I'm not saying this is a one-hit wonder. She could be a 3-hit wonder. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But this song, I think we all remember.
Okay. Marty Feldman Eyes by Kim Carnes.
Right.
I thought Betty Davis sang it.
Her hands are never cold. She's got Betty Davis eyes.
She was known for that rough voice, I guess, right?
Yeah. That was Kim Carnes, right?
Kim Carnes, Betty Davis eyes, yeah.
It's that 4-pack a day voice.
That's the only thing I remember hearing
Whiskey
about her.
and
She
cigarette.
could have had a couple of hits. Maybe she did,
Yes,
that
guys,
was what I remember.
She had a song called "Isn't It a Heartache" or something like that. Was that a number 1 hit?
That's
She had a
Bonnie.
country.
That's Bonnie Tyler.
Oh,
With a
okay.
similar voice, though. Yeah.
They both have really rough voices.
It's
Bonnie Tyler had a lot of
heartache.
hits.
Another
Yes,
great.
she did.
Yeah.
Now that's almost like a country style crossover,
Yes, it is.
right? Yeah.
That was her first hit. Total Eclipse of the Heart. Who's the drummer on it?
I have no idea. Why don't you just tell me?
The mighty Max Weinberg.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Max has had a relation with Jim Steinman. He played on Meatloaf Records, the Bonnie Tyler stuff. So sessions.
Wow.
Now I got one.
Yeah. So you have another one, Lou?
It's more of a nameless tune. This is our fluff segment, isn't it?
Sure. This is Random Relish. Yeah.
Yes. It won't take long. But
Well, here
Am I
got
still
this.
off camera?
We'll wait for you.
Is my camera still off?
now you're on.
Hello.
Hi.
Get in here, son.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, William. How's it going? All right. Give your mother a kiss and I'll kick your teeth in.
Hi.
Charlie. Where'd he go? I don't know where they
He went away. He's repositioned now.
I'm still on the left over here. You can see me now, though, right?
Yep.
Can see you. Yep.
This was a 2-hit wonder, but I don't think any of us can name the second hit. And it's from the modern era.
Okay. Let's go with it.
Pardon my heart.
It's quarter flash. Pardon my heart. And you're right. I could not tell you a follow-up hit.
No, it charted fairly well, but I don't know the chart position of that one.
That's like I Want My MTV.
That might have been one of the second videos played. I think they might have a distinction.
Pat Benatar was the second video played.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hit Me With Your Best Shot was the second video played after the Buggles.
A quarter flash.
Yeah. Saxophone in the band.
The riff. Now you remember the riff, though, right?
On that song?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's memorable. It's the hook, but
yeah.
There were a bunch of, I think there were school teachers from Seattle that was the only record they made. I read up on a little bit. The second record, everything went slowly down. Couldn't come up with any more sax riffs. But that was a big. I think they were trying to make her like Pat Benatar with the saxophone.
Yes.
She
Yes.
dressed kind of similar with the striped new wave shirts, but she wasn't nearly as hot or talented.
You know, I was talking to Mark
Now, Pat
earlier.
Benatar, by the way, I'm sorry, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, she kicked ass. Like, we talked about that last
Sure,
week.
yeah. They did.
So being the cynic I am about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I watched the whole show. I came away going, wow, I enjoyed it. You know.
Well, I say something funny about
absolutely.
Quarter Flash. I saw Quarter Flash play that song on Solid Gold. Remember that show? And everybody lip synced, and it was the first time I saw lip syncing sax playing. You know, she's dancing around the stage, and like I knew she wasn't playing. You know,
She's playing air sax.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yep.
Wasn't Marilyn McCoo the host of that Solid Gold?
Yeah. Yes.
My boyhood crush. Maybe her and Andy Gibbett at some point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Quarter Flash.
Solid
They're
Gold.
I think the thing was they're 1/4 Flash. They're 3/4 something else.
Should
It's like a gunpowder joke. I
should
don't
do
know.
a double bill
Neil
with
Young
the
recorded
Nickelback.
a new album. Neil Young recorded a new album with Rick Rubin at his Shangri-La Studios
Who did?
in Malibu.
Wait, Neil Young?
Neil Young. And so they someone asked Neil Young, "What are you going to name the record?" He goes, "World Record," and then that's what it's going to be called, World Record.
Huh.
But interesting, I saw them both interviewed, and Rick Rubin said Neil wanted to record it onto tape, so they recorded on 2-inch tape. You know, like used to be done back in the days, right? 2-inch tape. But Rick Rubin was saying in the past he's recorded on tape, and he'd be like, on a certain project, he said you could use 100 reels of tape. Can you imagine that? You know,
Wow.
Yeah.
like they're moving fast, I suppose. So
Right. And take after take. The
can you
tape's probably
imagine
just running.
100 reels of tape for one album? But that's the way it was done. So yeah, the cost. Excuse me, amazing. But Rick Rubin he's the guy. He's the Shangri-La where the band recorded, right? And that's his place now. Yep. And he records a lot of people there, the Red Hot Chili Peppers and many.
I wonder if they use Mr. Richard Manuel's Mr. Ed bunk as like a guest house or guest thing. Because Richard Manuel lived in there. They took Mr. Ed's. It was the barn where Mr. Ed lived. They turned it into like a little residence of sorts, and that's where Richard Manuel lived when they were recording at Shangri-La.
wow.
Frickin' die.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Hello.
kind of weird, you know. Like,
Richard, you're not going to drink another bottle of Grand Marnier, Richard.
well, he bought that property, but I think there's an old bus on the property out back, and the bus may be where all the equipment is, where all the board and all those compressors.
That's their mobile.
That might be in the bus. Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere, but it's just
Right.
I think that's where it is. Like, and Rick Rubin never wears shoes. Like he doesn't have to. He's at home in Malibu.
Yeah, Malibu.
Yeah.
The other thing about recording on tape nowadays is that it's so not available. Like it's still made, but they don't make it and put it in a warehouse because nobody's using tape. So Rick Rubin probably had to commit to buy 100 reels, and then it's hard. Like you don't just get it on demand like you used to. They have to special order everything.
If you got the money, it's out there. It's out there if you have the money. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how about I recommended the group the -5, right? I recommended the Gun album to listen to. Did you guys listen to it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What we do, part of the homework, part of the research.
-5 really is Peter Buck and Scott McCoy, right? But on this record, I find it interesting because on the record, they don't give you who played on what record, who played on this. At the end of the record, on the back, it just says -5, presented by, and you get Scott McCoy, Peter Buck, Bill Riflin, John Ramberg, Jeff Tweedy, John Sterrett, Glenn Kochi,
Yeah.
So pretty much Wilco's on there, Mike Jorgensen, Tucker Jackson, Colin Malloy, who's the singer from the Decemberists, who sings Cemetery Row, right? Yep. John Wesley Harding, Ken Stringfellow, and others. Like so in other words, they don't tell you who's on what song. It's just this is presented by them.
And Ken Stringfellow was one of the original members back in '93. Ken Stringfellow and John Auer from the Posies. So that was, but I guess so. It looks like
right. So
Scott McCrory. Now, is he the songwriter? Because
he's
looked
pretty
on
much
Spotify.
the songwriter. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
even a guy like Peter Buck, because there's a couple songs there I heard that said that Peter Buck could have written them. Maybe they're co-writers, who knows? But
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
couldn't find anything. I didn't really.
They're
look
not going to
hard
tell you
see.
that, but you can tell Peter Buck when that 12-string guitar, little things, little enhancements come in. You know it's Peter Buck.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you guys think of the record?
I loved it. You know I was going to say that, right, Perry? I loved it. Now
Fabulous. I did not know
really,
you were going to say that, but
fabulous. I did hear it with you, very echoey, in the gymnasium of the school we were working on that summer. You did play it, but I don't really remember it. But I remember saying, hey, this is good. This is good. Now, I was a recent convert to Wilco, so I was in that frame of mind. The first side, I want to say side, first half, it's that I just absorbed it, and it's very good pop songs. Very good. I didn't hear any throwaways. I'm not on the second half. I can't be as confident because I only listened that when I didn't absorb. I hear it, like Lou said, I hear influence of Peter Buck, and I always hear an influence. I was telling you before, Perry, if Tweedy's on something, I hear him there. It's like he's in the room. Some of the songs have a sound like Tweedy influenced his writing, but arrangements were excellent. This guy is a great songwriter.
Yeah, they were. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. For instance, here I think the first song on the album might be a bit of this one, right?
I like you with a gun.
I like you with a gun.
The way you shine, silver barrel in the sun. It's no wonder.
Now those little 12 strings, you know it's Peter Buck.
That's not the first song off the record, though. We do this sometimes where you play a song and say it's the first or fifth song, but it's not. That's not the first song. It's that's a fifth song on the record.
Okay, well, if you have a list there, why don't we do that?
The first song's got a gun in the title. It's a Rifle, Cold Goodbye.
Yeah, yep.
It's pretty Beatlesque.
Yeah,
yeah. I have a sample of it here. In fact, yeah.
Quartermaster bakes a radio. The traitors are ragdoll in the tornado. The funnel fleets the great.
Very Beatlesque. That's almost like Ringo on drums, man.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
That's Bill Riflin.
Oh, it is?
Later of King Crimson.
He's the REM drummer for a while?
Or King, like Mark said, he was in King Crimson, I think, when he died. REM, he was like the REM mainstay for the latter end of their career.
Yeah.
Ministry. Was he not? He wasn't. Scott McCrory was in the Young Fresh Fellows.
Yes.
YFF. That's a good song. It's a little good tempo. I mean,
yeah.
It's a good recorded album. You know, it's very even. And a lot of the albums the production sounds the same on the whole album. Actually, it's not a bad thing, but it's pretty consistent. But it's not too in any one direction. But it's a good song. It's a good opening song. I think there's much better songs on the record than that. Like the second song.
Oh, shit, man.
Oh, that's a little punk thing. Oh, shit, man.
That song's 1:41.
Yeah, yep.
So there's some short songs. If you could do it under 3 minutes, you're a genius, There's a lot of 2-minute 40 songs in this. It's a pretty funny thing. And on Spotify you can get the lyrics. Not the whole album didn't have all the lyrics on it, but the lyrics are pretty. There's a lot of discontent in that song, a lot of discord in his life in this song.
But I like the fact that these guys, all the friends that they have, it's a rolling family of people who come in, and they all wear their influences on their sleeves. Exactly, like that first song you said. It's very it's like Ringo on drums, man. They're not embarrassed by it. They're gloating over it,
Oh yeah. Except we're wearing on the sleeve the piano. That's very. That's almost like Fiona Apple too. She had that Lennon-esque
which
piano.
is John Lennon like.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite songs in the record. Oh shit.
Me too.
Shit, man.
Well, it is. It's fast. It's punky. But lyrics of the verses. You're like, all right. When I read about the band, this is like their 7th album, I think, right?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
They-
I think it's the seventh record.
Yeah.
'Cause they started in '93, but so yeah, I think Peter Buck's probably got more records with them than he does with REM.
maybe.
Yeah.
He's on every one. Yeah, that was good. That was a minute 41.
Yep.
Over before you know it. You have any other samples?
Yeah, I have a few other, but what else is on there? If you want to go in order, we'll go in order.
Yeah, okay. Third song is called "Out There on the Maroon." I mean, I don't know.
I love that song. Yeah. Love the drumming on that song, by the way, too.
Yeah. It's got that Pretty Woman 12-string guitar riff in it. Almost, that's got to be Buck.
That's Peter Buck, yeah.
Yeah. There's some cryptic lyrics here. This is my favorite. So put a rat in your backpack.
Yeah. Pop nonsense. Yep.
This is an example of, we were talking about this like last week. Like, you got wacky lyrics. It doesn't mean anything. If it looks good, if it sounds good together, it's
Right.
not a bad thing. But some of it's like, I'm like, what is he going on about? But I'm kind of amused by it. So it's clever wordplay, some turns of phrase.
Yeah, and
it's
the
hard to find
melody,
reviews.
the melody placement too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So put a rat in your backpack. I found myself chuckling when I first listened to it the first time. I think you might have burned me this record way back. I'm like, I liked it.
Yeah.
But it was like a sideman's record in a way, because Scott McCoy was a longtime REM side guy. He was on some of their big world
he
tours.
was on
I think.
world tours with them. Yeah. He was
like
the guy.
like the Out of Time record.
Yep.
So fourth song, My Life is a Creep.
I love that title.
Yeah.
Weird, man.
That's a great song, man. I lived in my life as a creep.
What does the break in there remind you of? There's a little break part. What does it remind you of?
I don't know. What do you think it reminds?
It's the alarm clock part in REM's "Get Up" off the Green album.
Yeah,
It just
maybe.
starts,
Yeah.
And it's almost like maybe Bucks would use that, but that's a good song.
Oh yeah.
The one you played first, the first time, "Let's With a Gun." That was the first sample you played.
Great upbeat pop song. Yep.
Up tempo, yeah, it's kind of countryish, isn't it? Did you play it again?
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
I like you with a gun. The way you shine, silver barrel in the sun.
Great
When I
sounding
hear
drums
this-
on this record.
When I hear this on headphones,
Yeah,
the drums
he's good.
sound very
Really good.
ambient, very airy, like you're in the room with them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did he produce this, Scott McCoy?
I would assume they produced it themselves. Yeah.
Okay. It's on the record label. It's kind of pretty cool.
Yep,
too.
Rock.
Yep Rock. You know that?
Yeah.
Yep Rock is based out of North Carolina, out of Hillsborough.
Yeah. Yep.
They put out Paul Weller
they got Nick
CDs.
Lowe. They've done Paul Weller.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Robin Hitchcock was on Yep Rock for a time. Yep.
Yep. Asheville's Steep Canyon Rangers. Robin Hitchcock. Want to hear a joke? How many REM members how many members of REM back in the day did it take to screw in a light bulb?
I don't know.
4. 3 to screw in the light bulb, 1 to put on the Robin Hitchcock record.
Take my wife, please.
I read that in Cream magazine. It was like, it's not funny. Anyway.
Lester Bangs.
Robin Hitchcock's on that record label.
I'm a fan. I have a lot of his records, Robin Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Yep.
So With a Gun, that's one of my favorite songs on the record. Funny lyrics.
What do you have
Yeah.
listed next?
Cemetery Road.
Yeah. This
Yep.
is with the singer Colin Malloy from
Colin
the
Malloy.
Decemberists.
Perfect fit for vocals to a song.
Eyes that never close, hands too numb to hold a glass or a matchstick. Everybody knows this old house.
It goes, Cemetery Road, don't you want to go? Great melody, man. Great
He sounds
melody.
English
Yeah.
when he sings.
Is he English or is he American?
No, they're from
I
Portland.
don't know, but it
Decemberists.
almost sounds like, God have to go away.
Of course, yeah. He's got to be English.
No, they're from
that could be
Northwest.
that could be
No,
RM
the
song.
Decemberists, I don't know where they're. They might be from Canada or something. I don't know.
No, they're from Portland area, Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Could be REM.
Great song, though.
There's some nice pedals-
nice
there's-
piano
and
song.
pedals.
Yep.
Yeah, pedal steel on that too.
Yeah.
and I was trying to find like a more well-known review of the record, and I couldn't find any. But if you go to the references, you go to Wikipedia under this record. If you go to the references, there's a No Depression magazine review, and it's a good review. But the reviewer said that was the best song on the record, only because Scott McCaughey didn't sing it, and not that he was saying Scott McCaughey's a bad singer or bad. He goes, the guy goes, I don't know who reviewed it. He said this band could be great if Scott McCaughey let some of the other members just do a little bit more of what they do. I don't know. I mean,
Well, they're
I like the
roving. They're
record.
roving members, though. I mean, Jeff Tweedy's not going to sing lead on a -5
Right.
record, you know. So,
right.
you know,
it's like it's his band, kind of. Where I see it.
yeah.
And he has
I don't
people
think
play
they
on
give a
the
shit about
album.
those
He has
reviewers either.
No,
people
no.
play on the album with very unique sounds that they do influence the sound. You hear Peter Buck's influence. I
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
Jeff Tweedy's influence. There's one song, Perry, you and I were talking about. I said,
yeah.
that's Kotchke playing drums. I felt like it was him. Like, so he writes all the songs, but he's letting
And it
them.
probably was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a weird comment the reviewer made because he praised the record. It wasn't a dig, but then at the end he kind of made a dig of sorts. But it's not more of like a personal thing. But like I said, you can hear the Beatles. I mean, like I said, they wear the Beatles on their sleeve unabashedly.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
But like I said, that song sounded very different. Even with a different singer. But not much of this album sounds the same to me. Each song has its own little. For the most part,
they're all very different. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I did notice toward the end of the record, I was starting a couple of things that I think they could have made a shorter record out of it. I think, but
Yeah, 13 songs. They could have maybe had 11 of them on there, but
yeah,
you know,
I think so. There's two that it would have made because I give this almost 3.5 to a 4-star record. I mean, I think it's really really good, in my opinion. Now the next song, Cigarettes, Coffee, and Booze.
yeah, that's a nice little country style song, right?
Yeah, yep. It's the most linear one.
All you really need, cigarettes, coffee, and booze. Cigarettes, coffee, and booze.
That's a very coverable song.
Cigarettes, coffee, and booze. Yep.
Yeah. But no, the other bands he was in, like Young Fresh Fellow, I associate them also with like the New Romantics. I just knew that one song. Young Fresh Fellows. That
was him. I thought he was in like the Posies or something.
I'd say he was in YFF.
I don't know.
That's the local news channel around here, WYFF. It's true. W Young Fresh Fellows with the news.
Well, anyway, I understand. Like, there's a couple songs near the end of the record. It's like, all right, why is it here? But you know what? It's interesting too, though.
Yeah. For example, the next song, the next song to me is The Dead. Leftover Life to Kill.
Yeah. There's
If
there was a throwaway on there, that might be one of them.
I called it Bad Replacements Saved by Sound Effects.
It's one of the longest songs on the album, too.
But I do like the drums on it, though. It's a downer. To me, it's a downer.
What do you have next?
The Indecipherable Hotel Senator.
Yeah,
Cipher.
that's
I
a
don't
good
know
song.
what that.
That's a
I
good
don't know
song.
what that song. I don't know what he's going on about.
It doesn't matter. It's pop nonsense. Yeah,
It's a good song.
it doesn't
Although
matter.
I do like the verses have that weird rhythm to it. It's like he's doing like rim stuff, and then I said that's pretty interesting. And then I just thought, then I went to the other part. But this is me,
Well, you know what? I
That
have
could be the one with Wilco on it.
I have my notes. Quirky sounds like Kotchke on that cut. That's like something Wilco-ish that Wilco might do,
Yeah,
yeah, it does.
Probably are on there.
What didn't they play on a couple songs in particular? But I'm not sure which ones they played on.
You're never gonna know. They're not gonna tell you.
Yeah, I think on that one, if you go to the references at the end of like a Wikipedia article, it did mention some of the songs that Wilco played on, but I forgot what it was. What's the next song?
Bought a rope.
All I know is the best song on the record is Twilight Distillery. That's all I know.
That's your favorite? You like that one? This
I
one's
got a lot of favorites, but that's one of them. Yeah.
This one's Bought a Rope. I consider this one Dead too.
Really?
This I didn't like. There's two really songs.
One of those oddball songs. Yeah. Yep.
I do like the I like the dreamy guitar. It's part of it almost sounded like I'm like, is that like the Dream Academy? But then I was starting to get fatigued at this point.
See,
listening to the record,
I like that.
It was a little too long for me. It's not.
It started with a distorted bass, and then halfway through the song, the arrangement changed. It was a different kind of song. I kind of like that, but I listened to the second half separately. So you do get fatigue if you listen to a whole album, especially the first time.
Yeah.
Like I mean, like, no, when I listened to it like maybe 3 times. The first time I remember from hearing it years ago, and I'm like, I wasn't, it's just a mood thing. But then the second time, I'm like, better.
Like
better.
anyone
Like,
else who listens to a record, I probably do it myself. Like those 2 songs you were just talking about, I probably skip past them when I'm listening to it.
Right. But next time I may not.
Right. It may come to you one day and be like, that is like the best song on the record.
It's the lyrics are, I don't want you to go away, so I bought a rope or something. It's interesting. I mean, there's a reason why bands like this aren't, the number one bands in the world, because, like people, they either want to hear fluff or they don't want to hear, but some of the stuff you're like,
but interesting.
I don't mind thought provoking.
Interesting. Like I cherish this record. Mm-hmm. I don't give a shit about Boston fucking records or, Jethro Tull. I cherish this record,
I'd like to hear the record, Down with Wilco.
Me too.
You have that one in 2004.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, when I was listening to this, after I finished listening to it, I was on Spotify. Other songs by them were coming up that I liked I like this record a lot. The other songs, I'm not sure what record they're. I like them a whole lot.
That's what Spotify does, apparently, right? Perhaps you'll like this, right?
Well, it was something by the -5. I don't know which record it was from, but it was more upbeat, kind of sunny pop, but it was really good. But that's what the next song was. All Worn Out. It's another kind of
another
pop.
Yep.
But
they wanted to give 45 minutes of music as opposed to 30, so
I didn't mention.
you can appreciate that.
Twilight Distillery. That was after Cemetery Road.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Didn't we talk about that?
No, this is one of the best songs on the record.
Yeah.
I've heard the bulls begin to howl. Here comes saw the old farmer ditch his plow. We're gonna be there soon.
Nice keyboard, nice organ, nice Peter Buck going there.
That's a song that sounded like Peter Buck wrote it to me.
Yeah, maybe they co-wrote it. Probably, yeah.
That comes after Cemetery Road on the record. So I forget. We forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
But that's one of my favorite songs on the record too. All Worn Out. Original Luke is the last song on the record. 13 song Original Luke. Kind of punkish rocker.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I like the live rave up thing at the end. Whatever they're doing, there's a lot of guitar at the ending of it. Is this song about a car?
Well, what I like,
guzzling.
What I like about -5 is that it's a lot of nonsense. The songs sometimes they don't mean anything. That's what I like.
Actually, I think they do, but I think he disguises it with this kind of wordplay. Where if it's ambiguous, that's kind of cool because you can.
Right, it's open for interpretation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because that one song, Original Luke, I'm like, was that the name of an old car he had? Because there's references to gas guzzling and other things, or maybe about a dog. Who knows? Or
an old girlfriend.
Who knows? Right.
I like the end. I thought the song was getting kind of weird, but it redeems itself at the end with that weird. I can't hum it out, but it's got some. The beat gets more frantic and there's some pretty aggressive guitar at the end there. But that's a really good record, man. Really good.
So Mark Smith, what did you think of the record overall?
I loved it. I give it a 4-star rating. And I think the songs that didn't grow on me tonight, I was listening before the show, they were growing on me already. It's a good car album. But I'm with Lou. I want to hear Down with Wilco. Just the idea, Down with Wilco. That's an awesome title.
Well, a lot of these songs, like I play Rick Ocasek, like the songs going on, and I go, yeah, you could do that. You could throw those in some of these songs.
Where have they been lately?
I don't know. Scott McCoy had a massive stroke.
He had a stroke.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
And I think he's recovered somewhat, still alive. Yep.
I think he's
Hopefully,
make
there's a new
comeback, but
record
yeah.
coming out from them. You
Yeah.
know, from -5. Yeah.
Right. When I was listening to the record, I looked up Scott McCall. I'm like, oh, he's like well into his 60s with like white hair. I'm like, you know, the time warp thing. Like, you don't realize how old we are. How like this record came out in 2005, you know, or 2006. But yeah, that's 15 years ago. But yeah,
Yep.
So I wish him well. But a talented musician. -5, good.
Yeah, I think to me, it's one of my most cherished records. Got to tell you.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can
put it
see
up
why.
there with XTC, English Settlement, and a couple others. Yep.
Okay. It's a really good choice, man. So we all have a concurrence of opinion. We all really, well, very obviously, but we all liked it.
So, Lou, since we're in the alternative universe,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You wanted to talk about alternative rock? Am
Well,
I
yeah.
correct in that assumption?
Yeah. Just like, and especially in light of that record, because that falls under alternative rock, you know, old country, indie pop.
Absolutely does. Yeah.
Now, you know, the term alternative rock, when it came out, it was like, you know,
Never going to sell a million.
Well, yeah, and basically, yeah, a lot of it was just more of like a stance against something. I thought it was a lot of it was some of the, I call it the overtly commercial aspect of the 80s, where, you know, bands were, I mean, truly in it for the money and the marketing, and, you know, the music was down the rung quite a few bits. And, you know, like I said, these were bands that were, well, most of these bands were never going to sell a million records, but some of them went on to sell multi-platinum records and become big stars and world famous. But I remember talking to someone and they're like, it's not like alternative music. Like, alternative to what? I said, alternative to, like, you know, the top 40 things that were overly formulaic, you know.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stuff you could throw in that category, you know, the big hits of whatever day and stuff. And not to say there's some bad music in there or good, not good, but this was definitely, it was edgier. It was born out of the 70s.
Consider how many times have you heard Boston more than a feeling on the radio? It's like, come on, man. I'm tired of this shit already, you know?
Yeah. And I remember like reading with classic rock in particular, because, you know, we grew up with it. Someone said that they got tired of it because they were calling it legislative nostalgia, where, you know, you couldn't help but hear it. You know, you must like this. You know, you have to do this. And,
right.
Yeah.
So you had the punk movement, a lot of the DIY stuff. But, you know, in the 70s, it was an alternative. It wasn't called alternative rock. It was like underground.
Yeah.
You know, some of those earlier bands, even like Blue, I mean, let's begin. Blue Oyster Cult were considered almost an underground band, but that had a couple hits.
Come on, man.
I agree.
Because
I totally
it just
agree.
needs to
They
be
were
known.
alternative to what was going on in the 70s. A lot of their stuff. I agree with you.
Yeah. And then even some of those more even some of the other, you know, lesser known bands, those, you know, those B-list bands we talked about. But yeah, so, you know, but once the 80s came, you know, that's when it became known as the alternative rock. And
Left
you know,
of the dial.
But, you know, a lot of that started in the 60s with, you know, a lot of the the garage rock bands, the proto-punk bands.
Yeah.
You know, they might have had about a bunch of hits, but, you know, they had career longevity. No, not really.
Bill Kelly.
Bill Kelly, yeah.
Right.
The year 1966. The stuff, you know, wasn't recorded great. It was not slick recording, not slick playing. You know, you didn't have to be the greatest musician. You didn't have to be a virtuoso.
A lot of lo-fi.
You know, like a lot of punk was against a lot of the progressive movement. You know, and, you know, is it sour grapes? You know, I'll never be a shredding guitar player, but it doesn't mean I don't like it. You know.
Hey, you could write a song though.
Yeah, well, sure.
Right.
Sure. Write a bad song too. But, you know, but there's that thing where the Replacements had that song "Left of the Dial," meaning you found the cool stuff, or the odd stuff that wasn't so typical down near the power stations, you know, the lower frequency stuff,
non-commercial radio,
radio, and but, you know, also alternative was known as, they called it college rock in the early 80s, like REM early on, college rock. But you know, all these other subgroupings, you know, noise pop, indie pop, shoegaze. Grunge was a different thing. Grunge was more latter day. Grunge had more to do with classic rock, I think. Really.
Yes, like a Black
Pearl
Sabbath.
Jam was always a classic rock band.
How about the Skinny Tie Brigade?
Well, those are the new wave, new romantic.
Oh, that's right. That was a few years after that.
They were in it. They were in there, but, you know, but the Cars were always a big hit band. There was a commercially successful band, but, you know, they were new wave.
Yeah.
But, you know, Billboard added the term alternative into the charts in 1988. So the first #1 alternative single was by Susie and the Banshees. Peekaboo. Actually,
I love Susie and the Banshees.
She's got some, what do you call it, controversial statements she's been making. But some of those bands crossed over. REM was probably the most well-known, biggest crossover alternative band, having started, playing the colleges and getting very little radio play things in there. Murmur was one of the first alternative rock bands to crack the top 40. I didn't know Murmur was a top 40 album. I think it was 36. But the UK had a lot of DIY labels. They call it postmodern was the term.
Did Mark pass out?
I thought he fell asleep.
I'm writing notes. I'm making notes here. I'm listening.
So, in 1987, Spin Magazine called Camper Van Beethoven alternate indie. They were one of the first bands that a major publication said this is an alternative rock band, and they were referring to the song "Where the Hell Is Bill" from the first record. Where the hell is Bill? Maybe he went to get a sideways haircut. Maybe he went to see the Circle Jerks. They were almost lampooning the alternative movement. But Larry's a bit of a wise ass.
Well, I can tell you that I have every Camper Van Beethoven record.
Me too.
Yeah.
I listened to Key Lime Pie yesterday.
Even New Roman Times I have. Their last one.
Oh, right.
That's
right.
Yep.
But even some of the early rap, even some rap and thrash things before they became mainstream were considered on the alternative fringe. The Lollapalooza tours. Yeah. But the one thing about alternative music, it was guitar based. A lot of jangle pop. It was keyboards were. A lot of these early alternative bands, using a keyboard by your fourth album was like, okay, we're doing keyboards, So unlike the synth pop of the 80s, which was kind of alternative in its own way, that stuff was big. It was big in the radio, like at the dance clubs, but the guitar pop was still on the underbelly of it. But some of the classic bands, from the early days were like the Velvet Underground influenced that alternative movement. Syd Barrett, Question Mark and the Mysterians, the 13th Floor Elevators. Blue Cheer, MC5, the Chocolate Watch Band, not to be confused with the Marshmallow.
So what are you saying? All these bands that you just mentioned were considered alternative in their time?
Proto-punk. Yeah, they were considered the progenitors to alternative music, and punk also, which, one led to another. A lot of the alternative was post-punk. Husker Du. The Dictators. Handsome Dick Manitoba was in that band at one point. And I hate to say it, but so was Albert Bouchard of Blue Oyster Cult. The Doors and the Kinks were considered some proto-punks because of that early stuff was like rough and ready and influenced. In the 70s, I'm not going to mention that band again, but they were considered underground. But the Dead Kennedys were in the 70s on. Yeah. The Butthole Surfers, Susan the Banshees, of course. The Dream Syndicate, and they mentioned early influences were the Bongos and the Feelies, both New Jersey bands. Two great New Jersey bands. I guess they were more influential than they seemed because they didn't sell shit for records. I mean, did the Phillies or the Bongos have a gold record? I doubt it.
I think there's a thing too with certain bands like that, like with the Feelies and the Bongos and even REM's. Like, I can do that.
Yeah,
and it's kind of motivating. Absolutely. It's motivating in the sense that, damn, I can do that too.
You didn't have to be the greatest. You didn't have to be Neil Peart, which is saying that nothing wrong with being Neil Peart. Now, my only complaint is that some of those bands were pretty shitty, in my opinion. So you didn't you said I could do that. Maybe some people could do a little bit better, in my opinion. Like I'm not mentioning Replacements because I wanted to like them more. I like the songs better than the band, but certain aspects of the musicianship, I'm like, no, this is almost too bad for me.
Yeah, that's the thing with me. Like Paul Westerberg's an enigma to me. One of the best songwriters of his time.
Yeah, sure.
But I guess it's like being an all-star pitcher or quarterback playing for a shitty team. You know what I mean? It's just like
that was a good point.
Yeah, well, he had a tendency to do this. He had a gun. He went into his foot a lot. I think. There's so many things they could have done. I think he's a much better singer than he ever showed on his early records.
The Replacements have a song called Skyway, and I love the song. It's one of my favorite Replacement songs. It's recorded so lo-fi. Like, I just want to hear a nice version by somebody singing that song with the acoustic guitar picking. Like, yeah, man. So in other words, you're like an A&R guy when you're listening to this. Like, I know it's a great song, but somebody has to take this song and make it into a fabulous hit record. But that's the enigma to me about Paul Westerberg. Shitty recordings, great songwriting, shitty recordings.
No, Skyway was on Pleased to Meet Me, I think, right? Or was on.
Oh, I don't
All
know
Shook
which
Down.
record it's on.
It was on Pleased to Meet Me. That had
Yeah.
You Be Me. But the next record after Bob Stinson was fired, that was their attempt to make a slicker record, and that was the one when we were driving down to Florida with Tom on a road trip. He took it out of your cassette player and stomped it on the floor of the car because it didn't sound rough. Well, remember the road trip we took down? It was 89 or whatever.
Of course I remember that. It was 1989.
Of course.
Yeah.
That was a blur. So anyway, Tom puts a cassette in. We're driving out of New Jersey, I guess. We didn't get very far. And he's playing it. He just didn't like, they sounded too wimpy to him. So he goes,
wait a minute. So
button.
it was his cassette, right?
It was his cassette in your deck, but he popped it out of your deck.
Yeah.
And he was sitting in the front. I was in the back, and he put on the well of the car and just stomped the cassette in.
Wow.
And it's a good record, actually. Rock and Roll Ghost is a great song. I think it's one of their best albums because they're actually trying to make a good album. But maybe I think too slick. I don't know. I mean,
well, that's the thing, man. You know, like
Yeah.
who knows, man? You know, it's
Right.
alternative. It's likable. It's hateable. Right.
Right. But there were some alternative bands that actually had more skill, and you can say maybe musicianship. The Church. You know, to me, they were always a big, almost classic
Yeah.
rock
What were
band.
some
but
of
they
their
had-
songs?
yeah.
I kind of like them. You
Well,
had a cassette that you always played a lot. You know,
Well,
when we're
I
driving
had
in the
to
car,
start-
you had a Church cassette, right?
I mean, I had a couple. I had the Starfish record, which that had the hit Under the Milky Way. That was one produced by Waddy Wachtel and Greg Ladagna. I think.
Really? Yeah.
But their early stuff was more jangle pop. Really good vocals.
Yeah.
Interesting band. But then they had a bigger picture sound than a lot of the other. They weren't punky at all. Very sci-fi. They're very
And a bigger record deal, maybe too, than
sure.
a large percentage of the other bands you're talking about.
Right, but some of those record labels that these earlier alternative rock bands were on were like SST Records, Twin Tone,
SST.
Go Records.
Right.
I don't think IRS were a major label kind of at that point, but REM were an IRS and then went major label to Warner Brothers.
Right.
So IRS was not a major
But
label.
Sire Records
Sire.
was one of those where like
Yeah.
they signed the Ramones, they
Yeah.
signed the Replacements, they signed maybe Camper Van Beethoven or something like who knows? But
Right.
yeah.
SST
When,
were
so
owned
the
by
pairing-
Greg Ginn of Black Flag, the guitar player from Black Flag. SST was his record
Oh,
label. I love
okay.
that Black Flag stuff. That was good stuff.
Well, that's another example. So there's this band that they wouldn't get on top 40 radio, and so
Right.
there was a void. Eventually, I think things got very commercial in the 80s, where the hairband thing wasn't for me, but it just seemed I didn't like the sound. But so the first time I heard REM, I'm like, that's different.
Well, it's also Los Angeles, right? It's also L.A.
What do you mean? What is LA?
The hair bands from the 80s.
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah,
Los Angeles, yeah.
LA Guns and Faster Pussycat.
Whatever, yeah. The guys with the
I wouldn't know what Faster
fonts and
Pussycat
the
songs are. Help me
Nancy
on the leg.
Sinatra go-go boots and the tights, gallivanting across the stage, yeah.
So anyway, let's go. So any other American alternative rock bands? The 80s were the big period, I think. In the 90s, it became, they went mainstream. They got recognized. But Husker Du, the Replacements we mentioned, they might be giants, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Early indie band, quirky as hell. I mean, like they managed to get on the radio because they were good, but there was something in those songs that were just quirky enough that you could hear it.
And Lou and I know the drummer who played on their first single, Don't Let's Start, Ken Nolan, right?
I like dreaming because dreaming can make you mine. Ken Nolan. In my face screaming. The Pixies, Sonic Youth. England had the Cure, Joy Division, Susie and the Banshees, of course. The Smiths, Jesus, Mary Chain. That led to the 90s where, grunge came in. Nirvana, whatever was alternative came big. Nirvana was always big. I mean, as far as that.
Yeah, you go, well, like Nirvana, you go from, whatever independent label you were on,
Bleach, that for.
What was that Seattle Sub Pop, and then they go to Geffen Records from Sub Pop. So that's a great leap forward, pal.
Oh
right?
yeah. And something. The thing I read is they all wanted that. Kurt Cobain wanted it too. He wanted to be the biggest band in the world.
Sure he did. Yeah.
I found it interesting. Like, and then he put him in the studio with Butch Vig, and here there's never mind. But I was reading where as great as I was watching one of those Rick Beato videos, and it was about the drumming on that song. And he's talking about it's a great drum track. He goes, but it was augmented with samples. So that snare drum, the bass drum, it's Dave Grohl, but there's someone else in there. I'm like, why? Did I Did it really sound that bad, or what was it about? You had to add a bit of.
Could have been the big company. Could have been the big company that wanted it. You don't know, right?
I guess, but can't you get that sound just by miking it? I don't know. By miking it just seems
that's the the question that's gonna
Well, let's invite Butch Vig onto the show and we'll talk to him and say why do you
Butch,
what's the rationale for
Butch Vig is into he's into like more of electronic sounds too.
Electronic.
Garbage, so yeah, maybe
garbage,
that was into that. Yeah. But I agree.
But I read a thing with the interview with the drummer for Huey Lewis and the News, and here's a guy that knows how to tune a drum set. Has his drums sounding great. They're all sweet. He does the track, and apparently Huey sticks his head in the door of the track and goes, "You like that snare? It's bottoms." Like, why? Why bother? It doesn't matter what snare drum you're playing. You could have a toy, or just make it sound. I don't know. But I'd like to hear the rationale for that. And if it's for homogenization but grunge was more to me. Grunge sounded more classic rock to me than like kind of on the cutting edge alternative stuff.
It reminded me of early 70s
but they had more
stoner rock, like Black Sabbath, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
grunge,
like Soundgarden to me. Soundgarden could have been in. I mean, I think they're great. I mean, they have quite a few songs I think are really great. Alice in Chains too. I mean,
speaking of Soundgarden, the other day I saw a little. I don't even know who it was, but it was somebody singing Black Hole Sun with an orchestra behind her.
I've heard that.
I don't know who it is, but it sounded fantastic.
It's Brandy Carlisle.
That's who that is?
Yeah, I heard. Yeah,
Mark, it sounded fabulous.
It really did. She's a hell of a singer.
That was wonderful hearing Black Hole Sun with an orchestra.
She was singing with Dolly at the Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's who that was?
Yeah.
That's who that was? Yeah.
She's wearing almost a nudie suit.
I don't know anything about those Disney girls or whoever they are, but that's
Disney
who...
Disney girls with their curly hair.
But that's who that was singing with... Okay, cool. Brandy Carlisle. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, you're thinking of Olivia Rodrigo singing the Carly song.
Yeah, I don't know who that was, man.
I didn't know.
She sounded good. She's got a good voice, actually. Yeah, you can't deny that.
She's very talented. Very talented. Mark,
so where are we, Lou?
I'm on minutes, so I may have to step out, but keep talking until I hear a knock at the door.
Okay,
how
about this? I got the album recommendation for next time.
Yeah, and then we'll go to Mark's album review, and then
I don't want to cut the show short because I have to go. You guys can rap. Come on.
All right.
It's up to you.
Well, do you have time to do your reveal? So for next time, Perry, you mentioned one of their songs in one of your compilation lists. I don't know if you've heard the CD. It's one album. They did one album, 1966. The band is The Monks. The album is called Black Monk Time.
Yeah, I heard one or two of their songs. That's all I've ever heard. Yeah.
Talk about alternative rock. This stuff is out there.
Yeah.
I think it's a great record. So if I was 18 or 20 in 1966, I'd want to be in this band.
All right, let's get Mark to reveal his albums. Mark, can you reveal a couple albums or
Black
do you have to run out the door?
I can run through. I'll do it in 5 minutes.
Cool.
Let's do it.
There's a little synchronicity in tonight's album review because stuff we talked about.
Why is that? It's a Police record? What is it?
No, in fact, just stuff that I picked. We talked about. First one, Monster, Iron Maiden, Live After Death. That was from their Monster Power Slave tour and inner sleeves with tons of pictures. That's what I love. I love it. I can look at this all day long.
It's all a blur to me, but it's great to have artwork on a record that you can look at it while you're listening to it.
And on the back,
seen those where there's 1,000 pictures to look at.
Yep, and produced, engineered, and mixed by Martin Birch.
Well, what year?
Wow.
I was in high school, 86, I believe.
Cool.
They did a world tour over a year long, massive amount of shows. They only canceled 2 concerts the entire tour. One of them was what I had tickets for. Radio City Music Hall. They all got the flu. So I was like, we were one of 2 concerts canceled.
Did they bring Eddie out on tour on that one?
Every tour. They have a big 8-foot high Eddie come out on stage.
Know who Eddie is? Perry know who Eddie is on Iron Maiden's?
Well, basically, Perry, this is Eddie.
There's Eddie.
Who's Eddie? Oh yeah,
skeleton.
I saw it. He's the big monster that they bring out.
It's a lot of fun.
He's their Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually seen that. Yeah.
Now, Lou, this next album's going to blow your mind. Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich, and it's called The Original Drum Battle. And you were talking about it before.
Shit.
Yeah.
Perry sent me a video. Buddy won.
This is recorded live at Jazz at the Philharmonic in Carnegie Hall. So.
We just talked about that the other day.
Yeah.
We did. Tonight.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Synchronicity,
Buddy
right?
Rich won the battle.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right,
Smug
next one.
Son of a bitch.
Shake Your Booty from Frank Zappa. I love this
Whoa.
album. I love it. This is my favorite album of his. It's got, and the inside gate sleeve is a mixing console with a cup of coffee and a cigarette on there. I love that.
That's great artwork. That is great artwork.
But this has Dancing Fool, and it's got also, I can't pronounce some of these song titles. It just wouldn't go over too well.
You may be totally wrong, but you're
this is a really good album. It's also an angry album, very angry, which I like. All right, this album has a little story. It's a band from the Midwest called Fuse. There was a young Rick Nielsen in this band, and that's him right there before Cheap Trick. Rick Nielsen is so embarrassed of this album that he says if you have it, please send it to him so he can smash it. He's trying to buy all the copies of the album.
How did you come across that?
Really?
Did you buy that because you knew who Rick Nielsen was? He was so popular at that point, and
no,
that's how you came across it, or did somebody give it to you?
This one I think I got in Hillsdale. There was a used record store that was there for maybe a few years, and I would just go in and buy albums. They were selling them for $1 each, and I would just go through and I'd say, okay, I'll take this and this and this. It was a great time of discovery. So this was one of them. I saw Fuse. I said, that looks cool. There's a bomb on the cover, Yeah. It's okay.
But you looked and you saw that it was Rick Nielsen, right? And that's why you bought it.
No, I didn't know. I bought it young.
Really?
And then after I got to know Cheap Trick, I'm like, oh shit, that's Rick Nielsen, and it's like, but a lot of bands came out of the Midwest in the 70s, like hard rock bands, So Rick Nielsen, Mr. Nielsen, I got it and I'm not giving it to you.
I'll buy it off you.
Charlie Watts Orchestra live at Fulham Town Hall. It's total big band jazz. It's jazz, yeah. It's even made to look like an old jazz album with the notes on the back and everything.
I've heard, who's the drummer on that?
Watts Charlie. I don't know. There's only 6 songs on it.
Never heard of him.
Say he's going to be good someday. All right, it's time to get your freak on. The soundtrack to the movie Legend. I don't know if you guys remember that movie. It's one where Tim Curry played the devil. But the soundtrack
isn't Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is in that, right?
Yep.
No?
It's a really good movie, but it's done by Tangerine Dream and John Anderson's on it.
It's a Ridley Scott movie.
Yep. And there's a song with Brian Ferry called Is Your Love Strong Enough?
Don't Pay the Ferryman.
I like this album, and I like the movie.
Great singer. Brian Ferry's a great singer.
Yeah. And Tim Curry was delicious as the devil. Freaking phenomenal. One of the best compilations ever made. Meaty, Beady, Big, and Bouncy by The Who. As Lou would say, meaty, big, and bouncy. Great line for the song. This was one of my introductions to The Who, so it's great. It's all the early stuff. This is for Perry, his favorite band. My favorite studio album from Grateful Dead, Shakedown Street. Great pop songs.
That's a great song. That's a great song. Yeah.
Well, their version of Good Lovin', always like their version. And it's produced by Lowell George. He actually got them in the studio.
Wow.
He was addicted to heroin.
Yeah.
He's addicted to heroin. He gets them in the studio. He somehow gets them to put out a good pop album. I don't know how he did it, but
was that 1979 also?
No. I think that was 78.
78. Ah.
Yeah, because the year before was Terrapin Station. Next up, Styx 2.
Or as George W. Bush would say, Terrapin.
Hey, speaking of Midwest hard rock bands, right?
Yeah, this was the Wooden Nickel years. Styx were, before they got signed to a major label, they were on this label called Wooden Nickel. and they put out a lot of albums. This is a really good album. They were, there's sticks, but this album actually had the song "Lady," but it wasn't a hit when the album came out. It didn't become a hit till like
Now,
1976.
was Tommy Shaw in the band at that point?
No.
Not yet.
No. So they had
No?
John Kurlewski on guitar, and he was with them through their whole Wooden Nickel years. Then they got signed to A&M. They did an album, and then he realized it was too much for him, the business or whatever. He quit the band, and that's when they got Tommy Shaw in.
Now, I remember hearing that
What
on the
about
radio.
JY?
Oh.
That was a pretty big
Hold on,
radio hit, wasn't it?
Yeah. Here, talk to Lou 1 second. 1 second, guys. Hold on.
I remember, Lou, hearing that radio, and I was like, even back then, I was like, this is fucking lame. Laid. I don't know.
Wee. I never dug it either.
That was my
That's a band that never got their hook on me.
Yeah.
that was my cue. I have to go. So one more album.
One more, then we'll close. Lou and I will carry on for a few minutes after you go.
Yeah.
All right.
This is Heart's Greatest Hits. This is the album that got me into Heart. And my sister gave this to me. It was hers. And another one with a great packaging. But I saw something. This is really cool. The inner sleeve, she must have not liked the paper sleeves. So the inner sleeves are Crazy Eddie inner sleeves. So I guess you could buy these plastic inner sleeves at Crazy Eddie. I love
Can you
that.
hold that. I can see the Crazy Eddie name.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That is
Wow.
so cool. So, but yeah.
That's a great story too. Crazy Eddie.
Crazy Eddie sold records, right? Yeah.
They
Oh,
sold
yeah.
everything out the back door. It
This
was a
album-
scam from day one.
This album had their version of Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin. Remember, that was all over the radio.
Yeah, they were pretty much a Led Zeppelin cover band from the early days, I think.
Oh,
Right?
that was a Heart record.
Yeah. Greatest hits. They're great for 1979 or 81. Yeah. So, yeah.
Barracuda.
Zebra was also a good Led Zeppelin cover band. Sorry. Anyway, guys, I got to go. It was good seeing you.
Okay.
I'm on my way out the
Yeah,
door.
Mark.
Yeah,
Keep on
and we'll
rapping.
talk to you in the near future, Mark.
Yep. Okay. Take it easy, guys. Bye.
Okay.
Good night.
Then there were two.
Fire! Lou, I have a thing for you here, right? Well, it's,
All right, my son, I want you to get a good night's rest, and remember, I can murder you while you sleep. It's easy, son. All you have to be is quiet and willing to do it. And son, I am willing to do it.
but I think it was a good show, don't you think, Lou?
Yeah, it was fun. It was
Right?
fun. We covered everything we wanted to cover, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we did 2 hours worth of show, but we did a little beauty. I have one more bit of humor here for you, Lou. All right?
Lay it on me.
Honey, that is a great ham steak. Just the way I like it. Nice and thick and fried.
Thanks, hon. Enjoying your ham steak, Aunt Bob?
Yeah, I like it. It's really fucking good.
Oops. I mean, fine ham abounds, Mom.
What was that?
That was Kids in the Hall.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah. Well, the father wanted to pick a fight with his son after that. But it was a long show, so
yeah, I know that one. Hey, son.
so I'm going to listen to the Monks. Right? Is that the only record they had? The one record?
That's it. That they put out one record.
So I won't have
66.
trouble finding it. All I have to do is search the Monks. Right?
I listened to it on. I have a copy of it. I listened to it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know if that. You do Apple, right?
Yeah, I'll find it. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, yeah. If nothing else, it's on YouTube.
Okay.
It's unusual. It's unusual. It's pretty wacky. You did listen to like 2 songs, but I forgot.
I have heard a couple of their couple of songs. They were like really wacky. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but interesting.
Yeah, absolutely interesting. Yep.
And also, there were like a one note thing in there. Like they did one album. They're
American, tours. Right? The Monks.
Yeah, they're American servicemen. I think they formed in Germany.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember reading a little bit about that. Yeah,
they were in the military. They were in the military.
On the telephones about that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Way back then.
Do 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 do. Give your mother a kiss or I'll kick your teeth in.
Any girls call you today?
Yeah, that one, that's self-censorship, Lou.
I thought that was the one you're good.
No, that's self-censorship. I wouldn't do that, yeah. Yep.
All right.
This is show number 22, apparently. So, of course, at the end, we'll say Music Relish Podcast is available on Spotify, on Anchor, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on Podchaser, on Pocket Casts, on Overcast. And we load up on YouTube whenever we do a show. And also on Facebook. I think Mark handles a Facebook page. Mark Smith, right?
And Mark also puts on Facebook some of the songs we mentioned that we can't play in their entirety. And there's some interesting
can't
stuff.
Play more than 15 to 20 seconds of one. Yep.
Right. And he writes funny captions for them, too.
Yeah, yep. And we showed some of our guitars. In the near future, we will show some of the other guitars that we have.
Yep.
You know? I know Lou has a few guitars. I have a few guitars. Mark has a lot of guitars. So we'll go do that. So, yeah.
He should show more guitars than we have. Yeah.
Fun show, I thought. Anyway.
And did you mention we're on Spotify?
I did. Spotify, yep. Okay. So, hello, Scott McLean and Jack Alabrisi. Milk Crates and Turntables, our friends. Tom Spallone. Going Postal. Goodbye. Farewell.